This is the new Bose QC Ultra 2 headphones and the Sennheiser HDB 630 that's been getting lots of media attention lately, and both of these are the latest models that enter the flagship wireless headphone ring, although they approach the category with slightly different philosophies. And by the way, Sony heard what I was doing right now with this video and decided to send me a WH-1000XM6 for this comparison. So yes, this is going to be a fun and long one, and I apologize ahead of time if I miss anything. So anyway, grab yourself a snack and let's break down what's dope and what's nope. The Sennheiser HDB 630 retails for $500, and if you want some color options to this, unfortunately no, this is the only colorway you get, at least for now. The WH-1000XM6 is $460 MSRP with 3 color options, while the Bose is $450 with 5 color options. Now the Sennheiser, in the business end of things, there are 42mm drivers inside here, while the Sony settles for 30mm, and the Bose, they're usually mum about these kind of things, but the last model was 35mm for what it's worth. The QC Ultra 2s have Bluetooth 5.4 with AAC, SBC, and aptX adaptive, including aptX lossless with Snapdragon sound-equipped devices, of course. The Sennheiser is Bluetooth 5.2 with AAC, SBC, aptX adaptive, and aptX HD. And the Sony runs Bluetooth 5.3, supporting AAC, SBC, LDAC, and LC3. One big number that most of you probably care about is battery life or endurance. So during my time with it, the Bose, I got 27.6 hours with ANC on, 29 hours with ANC off. And the Sennheiser is a monster 43.4 hours with ANC on and 47.2 hours with ANC off. And the Sony did it in 33.1 hours with ANC and 35.7 hours with ANC off. And all of these with the highest codecs I can get for the Sony was with LDAC, which is pretty darn impressive considering the time that I got. Based on my scales, the Bose is 266 grams, the Sennheiser is 311 grams, and Sony is 264 grams, but we'll talk more about comfort later on in the show. One of the biggest visual changes on this generation of QC Ultras is the bright work here on the yoke, or wishbone as I like to call it. Some of you were brought up or may prefer the previous generation's more matte version, but here it is. Bose is moving with the times, trying to attract a different set of customers. So you got this, and between all the 5 colorways, I think you can find something you like. So there's that. But I'll tell you what, build quality on this, it is spot on. All of these are really nicely done, but I think this one just looks more expensive. It feels and looks like an expensive armchair or furniture or something. The padding is really nice and plush, so is the top as well, and the slider mechanism is nice and smooth. When you remove the padding, you can see there's perforation for breathability where the foam cell is on the inside and the pleather around that, and popping this on and off, as you just saw, was easy. The drivers are angled towards your ear canal, which is great too. Cloth protector. The aperture is a little bit small for my liking, even though the padding... So here's the thing, let me talk about a couple of things. The aperture itself, if you have big ears, probably want to test it out before you commit. For eyeglass wearers, the seal is pretty good actually, because the padding is nice and soft. It doesn't affect ANC or any kind of sound leakages whatsoever, which is great, but it affects comfort overall. So I can't wait for more third-party padding to come about. Maybe they'll expand this a little bit, make it bigger, but who knows. But as it is stock, I wish this was a little bit bigger. Now, in terms of controls, you got the power button down here, and you got the ANC or pause play buttons. If you hold this down, it changes from ANC, pass through, and all that kind of such. Depends on how you set in the app. We'll talk about the app in a second. And here's this touch strip right here where you slide up and down for the volume control. It works, I would say, 90 to 95% of the time. Other times it's just like, what are you doing? And the other percentage is you trying to find it in the first place. After you use this, if you're listening for a long time without touching the controls and then you come back to it, you might mistaken this for the ridge rather than this. So there's that. And this is also, the right ear cup is the touch control surface as well. There's nothing on the left, just the USB-C charging port, 3.5 or 2.5 actually. This, I'm not sure why they didn't do 3.5. And the LED light, which is really subtle as well. Check this out. No creaking sounds whatsoever. Really nicely done and very flexible. And in terms of compactness, this is what you get. Now, a couple more items. In terms of durability, if I run my fingernails like this and shine it through the light right there, you can see some subtle scratches. If you rub it and apply some heat, it does self-heal a little bit. But it's probably the it's comparable to the Sony, which I'll show you in a second, and the Sennheiser is the most durable, at least on the outer caps. One more thing is this hinge. It's sharp, I'll tell you what. I've pinched myself a few times. This is one of the first headphones that actually pinched me, like right there, just as it closes. It really hurts. It's sharp and pointed and strong, so yeah, not a good combination there. If you're looking at this and you're like, wait a minute, this looks like the Momentum 4. Well, you'd be right, because the 630 shares the same platform with that thing, with some improvements and tweaks here and there. But overall, it is a Sennheiser through and through. You look at this, you recognize it right away. It's not as pretty as the other two, but it is very purposeful and industrial, if that's your thing. And I really like the scalloping right here, because a lot of audiophile headphones tend to like make the headband protrude out. They just go all the way out here and connect with the yoke right at the end of the ear cup as far as possible. But here it is nice and close knit, or close and compact to your head, which is really nice. Now on the left side, we're looking here, you have the really tight ear pads. They stay on really tight, and they take quite an effort to pop off. The drivers are also angled towards you, which is really nice, or towards the ear canal. The padding is really nice, and the aperture is much larger, definitely meant for a lot more people. My ears are happy with these. The padding at the top is a little bit stiffer compared to the other two, but it is very comfortable as well. Now, most of the controls, or all the controls actually, are on the right side. The touch surface is on the right, and I do wonder why all of them are on the right and not like have a option for you on the left, like someone who can't use their right hand, they need controls on the left. They're kind of SOL, right? So come on guys, accessibility issues there. And then you can see the USB-C charging port, a 2.5, surprise surprise, and a bunch of LED lights, and the multi-function button right here. The touch surface is pretty good in terms of sensitivity, and check this out, also nice and quiet, and the slider is nice and smooth too. Earlier we were talking about durability, right? So I'm gonna do the same here, scoring this surface with my fingernails. And don't forget, this is black, so it's gonna show up even more potentially. But there's that, just a little bit, and I can rub it off and it goes away. So yeah, plus points to that part. A couple of big changes the XM6 has over the XM5 is with the hinge assembly, as well as this feathering of the headband. Most headphones have them parallel like this, and the designers at Sony thought that this would help with stability and comfort. It actually does, but I'm not sure by how much compared to, you know, your regular old headphone. It does fold down very nice and compact, and here there's a little bit more creaking, I would say, but you know, this is of course an extreme test. Very nice and fluid, the slider as well. Everything just works like a well-oiled machine, and the build quality on this is nice and tight. A little bit big on my head for what it is, but you know, there's that. Now the padding itself, or the ear pads, exposes no protection for the drivers and all the assembly on the inside. Here's the mic for the noise cancelling. Yeah, it is exposed, so you're living on the edge with this thing, and the ear pads are equally easy to replace. And one thing nice about Sony's or Japanese brands is they usually have markers right there. I'm not sure if you'll show up on the camera here. There's a marker for left, and also, you know, you got indicators left and right. Orange is for right, but you know, you always have for the visually impaired. This really helps. So if you're finding this in the dark, this is your left, and the blank one is on the right. A touch surface is also on the right side, and the USB-C charging port, LED, and some venting ports there, and the mics. Another big change the XM6 brings to the table is an indented power button. None of the others have it. So by far, this is the easiest to find just by feel alone, and you know, you won't accidentally hit it, which is great. The noise cancellation ambient button is right there, and a proper 3.5 port. Just like the Bose, the scratches do show up, and after you rub it a while, it does go away a little bit, but they don't hold up to my scratching as much as the Sennheiser. When it comes to storage, it looks like Bose copied the XM5's playbook, so what we get is a nice slim and thin carry case, and I have no complaints. It's easy to slip into your backpack or luggage. The zipper action is nice and smooth. There's a small flap here to protect this from like water splashes, basically from elements. There's a carry loop right there. Wish it was a little bit bigger. It is felt line on the inside, so to protect your headphones, and there's an elasticized pocket to store your included cables like USB-C to USB-C and 3.5 to 2.5 audio cable. With the XM6, Sony basically said adios to the zipper and hola to the magnetic clasp. And I'm not sure why more companies are not doing this. It's such a quick and easy way to access the inside, which is great. And I've dropped this many times just to test whether things go flying everywhere. nada, which is great. It's a little bit thicker than the Bose's and last generation, but it is still well made. There's a much larger carry loop right here. On the inside, it feels a little bit cheaper only because it's still felt line, but it feels only because there's more post-consumer products in here, like recycled products. The elastic pouch is tiny, I'll tell you what. And here, look at this. The charging cable is sad and pathetically short, and here's the 3.5 to 3.5. So, you know, there's that. You have the magnetic clasp, but not as much space as the much smaller Bose. So, yeah. On the flip side, the 630's case is, well, more traditional. It's thicker, heavier, wider. Pretty much every metric is just larger than the other two. And it's only because the 630 doesn't fold down into a compact ball like the others. So if you're looking for that kind of, you know, portability, you probably want to look at the other two or look elsewhere as well. But back to the case, the loop is just as large, nice and wide. The zipper is really, really stiff. So I would say, you know, rub some wax on it to get it moving. On the inside, the plus side of the size is tons of space. You have a large elastic pocket right here, a couple more at the top, one for the airline adapter, the dongle, the USB-C dongle, and also the elastic loop for the 2.5 to 3.5, another elastic loop for the charging cable, and of course the cavity for the headphone. We're at the tail end of fall, but it already feels like winter. 24 degrees, but it's a lot of fun being out here, fresh air and everything. I have dire straits doing the classic nothing for money. And we're starting with the Bose's first, Bluetooth 5.3, right smack in the middle of everything. And we're out here doing the range test just for fun. There's the phone at the end of my deck, the OnePlus Open. And we're doing aptX Adaptive on this one. And where I'm standing right now is 25 feet away, roughly, or 26 feet away from the phone. Direct line of sight, no problem whatsoever. And I have it on maximum active noise cancellation for what it's worth. I can't hear anything on the street, which is great, or barely anything. We're passing the usual point of failure right there at 35 feet, usually on earbuds, but headphones tend to hang on to signals much longer. Today is right now is rush hour, so hopefully you get some good sound samples as well. Oh, I just got a cutout left, right there. We're around probably 75 feet away from the phone, and there's a house between us, so not bad at all. There's right now absolutely no media playing, so you know, hopefully once there we are, we're back in range. You can see the fit of these on my head. They are very comfortable, like most Boses are. But just like the earbuds, here's the problem. If you take these like running, don't run with these or any of them, but really if you have to, or if you're chasing after your dog or your kids, don't, because like the QC2 Ultra QC2's earbuds, the occlusion effect when I run, any downward impact, I hear it in the entire system. It's like boom, 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 boom. So something to bear in mind there. But you know, on my head, this thing is really nice. Now, let's switch over to the Sonys and see how those things fare. In hindsight, I did say the Bose has Bluetooth 5.3, right? I was wrong because I'm not very good at my job. Bluetooth 5.4. This has Bluetooth 5.3. And where I'm standing right now, again, same place. Signal still going strong, of course. Let's see if the Sonys can beat the Bose in terms of range. We're just going to speed this up a little bit. Oh, there it is. It stopped much sooner. Right here, it's around, I would say 70 feet short. Again, there's the house. Yeah, so I'm getting signal issues at this point. So there you go. Now, the fit on these, much more secure than the Boses. So if I take this running, none of that weird occlusion effect either, that vacuum feel. I can jump around, no problem whatsoever. Head bobbing to music. This thing's jam, man. Yeah, so if you want to take these on runs at a pinch, not bad at all. They stay secure, and definitely if you wear a hat or a beanie or something, these things, whichever ones you pick, stay darn put. Now, the Sennheisers run Bluetooth 5.2. It's a little bit older, but between 5.3 and 5.4, not much differentiates between them in terms of real-world use, in terms of signal strength and connectivity and all that. None that we'll notice anyway, unless you're one of those technical engineers. So right now we're really close to we're past the Sony, so we've got that beat. And in terms of range, I'm here on the side of the road, middle of the road, and Yep, we just got a signal loss. So Sennheiser for the win. Bluetooth 5.2 there. There you go, guys. Now, in terms of fit, I would put this in between. In terms of compressive force, it is somewhere under the Sony's. So it feels really nice actually when you're running with it. Everything feels secure. There is a slight weight shift on the ear cup only because they're wider and there's more room for it to jostle around compared to the other two, which are, you know, more lifestyle like designs compared to this one. So there's that. If you want a more lifestyle related or a version of Sennheiser's, get the Momentum Force. It's practically dead on both ends, guys. There are barely any cars coming up and down the street, so I hope we'll get some good sound samples. But I'll tell you what, the VQ voice quality on the Sony's, oh, fantastic. Probably one of the best I've heard. So, oh, here comes the car. Hopefully you can hear this. And there's wind coming this way directly into the mics. A little bit gets into or penetrates the ear cup cavity or whatever it is where I'm talking. But you hear that when I'm talking, you can hear the system suppress the noise. You can hear some digitization a little bit, but it's one of the better systems at keeping that at bay while I'm talking. So my voice to the listener sounds really good. Oh, here comes a flatbed or a low voice. Testing. No, perfect. Perfect sample. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Here comes a line of cars now. A couple of notes. When you're in active noise cancellation and you get a phone call, it won't go into pass-through mode. I wish there was an option for that for users to choose. Better situational awareness, or some people just like it still in the same mode, don't like to be changed, disturbed that way. But also I noticed that if you're in active noise cancellation and you get a phone call, it enters into somewhere between like a pass-through mode and active. It's like it goes into a lighter active noise cancellation mode. I can hear it get not as effective, but I think between all the mics now, a couple of mics are used for phone calls, so the system, you know, the noise cancellation system has less mics to work with. So that's my theory. But anyways, testing. 1, 2, 3. What do you think? One quick thing about the Sony's in terms of ergo is if I'm adjusting the headphones for whatever reason, for the headband or just moving it around to shift for comfort and such, my palm touches way too easily the top part of the touch surface. I think it's like 1/4 of an inch, a little bit too large for where my hands would normally rest. So every time it rests here, it activates the touch controls. It goes boom, boom, boom. So there's that. Testing. 1, 2, 3. For the Boses, and I'll tell you right off the bat after coming from the Sony's, the Bose is less sure of itself in terms of noise suppression. It is more wavery, it's more, you can see there's more breakups, it's more digital, it's more in line with some of the normal systems I've heard so far. So there's that. I wish the wind was blowing earlier. Just a few minutes ago when I was testing, the same wind that was blowing to the Sony's was there, and you could hear the wind. So noise suppression, not so hot. Noise suppression algorithm also not as advanced as the Sony's. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. How's that sound? Even when I'm talking, you can hear the cars. It's a little bit more pronounced, quite a bit more pronounced than the Sony's. I'll tell you what though, the active noise cancellation, it's much quieter here. There is a slight hissing to that quality if you're sensitive to that. So something to take note of. In case you're, you know, thinking about shopping between active noise cancellation systems, Bose system. Testing. 1, 2, 3. It's a little bit hissier, if you catch my drift. Run. I'm doing this because I haven't been able to get some good wind samples as I'm recording this. So testing. 1, 2, 3. As cars pass by, how do the Sennheiser sound to you? So yeah, this of the three, this is the least mature, in my opinion. Your listeners are going to hear much more. Testing. 1, 2, 3. As cars pass by, I apologize ahead of time for the lack of sunlight earlier. It was projected to have a lot of sunshine today, but as you can see, it's just bloody gloomy everywhere. But anyways, well, comment down below, guys, which of the three do you prefer? My favorite, obviously, is Sony. What do you think? Let us know down in the comments. But anyways, let's head back to the studio. Just look at Bose's app. It's cleaner and more sterile than an operating room, I'll tell you what. From the homepage, you can quickly access pretty much all the functions like noise control modes, immersive or spatial audio, the sad 3-band parametric EQ plus 4 presets with no save spots. What the heck? Shortcut is where you activate or deactivate the touch strip hold command. It has limited functionality, which is a shame. Another weird one is noise control back at the home screen, which I think could have been bundled together with the mode screen. By function, it controls the strength of noise cancelling and pass-through modes, but the UI doesn't contextually change with the modes, plus the messaging that doesn't clearly guide the user through what the controls do in the first place. Settings is where you can tweak self-voice strength during phone calls, toggle wear detection, as well as find duplicate controls from the home screen. Arguably the most polished app, especially considering how much power it gives the user, is Sennheiser's new Smart Control Plus app. Animations are tight, text and control density are well spaced and clean, as you can see. Front and center, importantly, are the audio controls. My Sound with access to presets and multiple ways to tune your device. There's a simpler 5-band EQ followed by a 5-band parametric with controls for areas like gain, Q factor, and choosing between shelf or peak filtering. Hot dang it. And then the best thing about all these tweaking is the inclusion of the bypass button, which lets you hear the difference between the stock tuning versus yours, and the A/B toggle, which allows you to compare 2 different EQ presets. Hot dang it again. Back at the home screen, crossfeed helps songs that are recorded heavily on either the left or right channel sound more balanced, like Charles Bradley's Where Do We Go From Here? Under settings, you can choose what audio codecs you want and even see the signal path that breaks down what your audio signal does as it passes from the source to your ears. I find that super informative and educational. I've called Sony's app a convoluted mess in the past, and I'll admit that as a whole, the Sound Connect app is now more organized and looks modern. I mean, it can still be confusing in areas, especially for new users, so there's definitely a learning curve there. Now, up front, you have features such as sound controls, listening presets, EQ, and adaptive sound control, which I don't use at all. Tapping each of these functions or device settings at the bottom takes you to more granular control over sound, system, and services, which are organized in 3 separate tabs. Within the EQ, there's a 10-band parametric with 3 savable preset spots that you still can't rename after all these years for some reason. While Sennheiser's app gives you vast control over the sound, Sony's basically give you tons of control over the system and features, so pick your poison there. I'm really appreciating how Bose has tweaked their house sound recently between the QC Ultra 2 earbuds and these things. The tuning, I would say, shifts the gauge further from consumer-friendly towards enthusiast, not all the way, but just towards that, with enough bass and clarity and soundstage to satisfy both old as well as new fans. So breaking that down a little bit more, I would say that low end ain't the most composed. Like when playing You Should See Me in a Crown, for this track, you want to hear bass that's fast, distortion-free, and not muddied by the mids, but the Ultra 2 seems to struggle in an admittedly extreme situation like this. Now, mid to high mid vocals or female vocals are distinct and crisp, while treble isn't exhausting, although it can definitely use a little bit more energy to complement the mid-range. Overall, Bose is going in the right direction. It's just that in this company, or category for that matter, it still has some work cut out for it. Moving on to the Sony, and there's already tons of content about the XM6, so feel free to check those out. But basically, I don't know what voodoo magic they showered on these little small 30mm drivers in there. There's just more sparkle in the vocals with details that hit their mark in space and time. Basically, the XM6 has a tighter threshold for pain than the Bose, which is a great thing. Now, feeding these challenging tracks like Oh by Thundercat or Beyonce's Countdown and the composure and maturity is impressive for what it is, guys. The stock tune is still what I'll consider warm, but it's way less than previous generations. And I will say that if your audio preference is for warmth and intimacy, the XM6 falls slightly behind my current favorite, the Cambridge Audio P100 SE, for what it's worth. If you don't need pounding bass, the purest and best sounding of the bunch is the HDB 630, guys. Hands down. I can't tell you how appreciative my ears are when I listen to these, whether it's stock or EQ'd, whatever. The accuracy, the crispness, the technicality, the performance, they sound like liquid gold, as long as you're not a bass head. I mean, don't get me wrong, guys, bass is tight, but not the kind that, pounds deep into your neck and chest. Wired listening is also the best on the Sennheiser, which requires the internals to be energized at all times. But I'll rank SQ here ahead of his Bluetooth SQ and about on par with the dongle. The entire presentation is cleaner and less bassy than wireless. It's an even bigger divide when I compare the Bose and Sony with this thing. Like the Ultra 2, for example, also requires the system to be powered on. It needs way more gain to get to the same levels of the Sennheiser, but here's the thing, the bass, yeah, it's ugly, guys. Just don't go there. And at least the XM6 can be used battery-free, but for goodness sakes, you reach for the 3.5mm cable only if you absolutely have to, guys. And it's also kind of a pity that Sony didn't include USB-C audio support here, so there's that. Now, just for kicks, I threw in the Noble Focus Apollo into the mix, which has been my benchmark in this area so far. And here's what I found. It falls slightly behind the 630 in terms of SQ, but it requires way less gain and achieves its performance without using the battery at all. I'm not 100% sure if this is an early release bug or something, but almost every time I use the Sennheiser, especially in multi-point mode, the touchpad and wear detection would be inoperative. So the only way to get them to work again is either by rebooting the headphone or heading into the app to disable and re-enabling the touch controls, and then everything is hunky-dory. But still, bug or not, this kind of basic impediment is a thumbs down in my book. Where the headphone earns back major brownie points, in my opinion, is with the included Bluetooth dongle. This thing, guys, basically allows you to use your 630 to its max potential because the dongle bypasses your source device to always push content via aptX lossless or aptX adaptive at 24-bit 96 kHz, which is great news for iPhone users. The dongle also has like 36 to 40 milliseconds latency, which makes this also a legit gaming headset if you can, make do without a proper boom mic. Touch control response time on the Sennheiser is the slowest of the bunch, taking about 0.8 to 1 second from the touch to the device responding itself. I'm not talking about touch and when you hear the tone, but when the action is completed. While Bose and Sony, on the other hand, go neck and neck, taking about half a second to 0.6 seconds to react. In the end, I'll give the Sony QN3 chipset on this the smallest edge for its consistency and snappiness. For what it's worth though, the QC Ultra 2 is the quickest to power up and down, while the HDB 630 is the fastest to connect to a device upon boot up. But still, guys, have I already told you over the years how much I hate these touch gesture control nonsense? Just give us knobs and dials and toggles already, for crying out loud. Starting with the most comfortable down to the least. So when just sitting still or lounging around the house, it would be the 630 followed by the Bose and then the Sony. And even though it's the heaviest here, the Sennheiser just spreads its weight out really well and has the most audiophile-friendly ear cup. It's large, deep, and cushy. And I would say that Sony would have trumped Bose, but my head did not like the compression force that aimed a lot of pressure at the lower part of the ear cup here. So it's basically down to plastic against my bone or skin. And I know I'm like a small subset of Sony users with this problem, but I thought I'll mention it anyway. Now, anecdotally, I swapped out the stock pads for slightly thicker and firmer Wicked cushions, and things have been a-okay so far. However, when you start getting jiggy with it or you hit up some light workouts, the XM6 becomes the champ as it stays on your head the best, followed by the QC Ultra and then the Sennheiser. It has been pretty much neck and neck between Bose and Sony. Both have overall superior ANC prowess, with Bose ahead in pass-through quality. It just sounds more natural and expansive, although nothing like that of an AirPods Max. Now, if I had to declare an outright external noise suppressor winner, it would be the Bose. It just distinctively blunts every spectrum more thoroughly than the XM6, perhaps at the expense of more background hiss if you're more sensitive to that kind of thing. Which also leaves us Sennheiser. The company probably wants to up its ANC game next time around because as it is, it's good but not great. I would say it's about the same as something much cheaper like Soundcore's $100 Q45, believe it or not. So which is my favorite, you may ask? Well, the fact that none is better than the others in every key aspect makes it that much harder to decide. But here's the thing, if you prioritize SQ on the go over everything else, you already know which is my pick. The HDB 630 is sublime and a blessing to those who can appreciate it. I liken it to a Momentum 4, but one made specifically for enthusiasts and audiophiles. It's Sennheiser basically moving with the times, where it's trying to attract a new generation of younger audiophiles who also prefer their high-end headphones wireless. It is cool that Sony settles in the comfortable middle spot, where it's just pipped by Bose for the ANC crown, plus comes in behind the Sennheiser for sound. So if you want something that is good in almost everything, then this is it. Now, if you need a straightforward, fire and forget premium headphone with the best noise suppression of everything on sale today, Bose is your guy. And even if you would ask me what would I go with, based on my gut, I would say it's a tie between the XM6 and the Sennheiser. So there you go. Well, that was my take on the Bose QC Ultra 2, the Sennheiser HDB 630, and the Sony WH-1000XM6, and I'm sticking to it. And thanks to all these companies for playing, and thank you guys so much for being the best audience ever and sitting through my crap. So thank you for watching, and if you like what I do, if you like to see more like this, it definitely needs your support. Please thumbs up and definitely subscribe and reshare this with your friends and get the word out there about Gear Up with Aaron. And remember guys, to do something loving and kind for somebody in this world, because guess what? If you haven't seen the news, the world needs it more than ever, and it starts with you. I love you all very much. Peace out and God bless.